Right now, the world's biggest tech companies are spending money at a pace that looks less like building new products and more like preparing for an arms race. Not the kind fought with weapons, but one fought with data centers, GPUs, and algorithms. Analysts from Goldman Sachs and Reuters say AI infrastructure spending is rising so fast that global investment could approach $1 trillion by 2027. That is the kind of number usually attached to national budgets, and not software. And in this race, the real power isn't land or oil. It's compute, data, and the intelligence these systems can produce. The spark that ignited the AI arms race. The spark was surprisingly simple. When generative AI models like GPT began handling language in a way that felt human, big tech realized the ground under them had shifted. GPT-3 proved AI could understand patterns across billions of words. GPT-4 showed it could reason, analyze, and summarize complex information. And that was the moment every company sensed the same danger. If someone else mastered this technology first, they'd set the rules for the next era of computing. And suddenly, AI wasn't just research. It became strategy, reputation, and economic survival. Google reorganized its teams and accelerated its Gemini project. Microsoft went all in with OpenAI. Amazon integrated AI deeper into AWS. Meta expanded its infrastructure spending to scale its AI capabilities. Even Apple, which usually plays the long game, began ramping up its investment in silicon and AI research. What started as curiosity turned into urgency, and that urgency turned into a full-scale battle fought across multiple fronts: chips, data centers, training data, AI models, partnerships. Regulation. Every area that shapes digital intelligence became a contested zone, and every company realized the same thing. Winning this war means controlling the next platform that billions of people will rely on every single day. The armies in the AI war. When you lay out the map, the major players look almost like countries with their own armies and budgets. Microsoft has the closest strategic relationship with OpenAI. It provides the cloud infrastructure that trains and runs OpenAI's models, and Reuters reports its AI-driven capital spending is rising sharply as it expands data centers worldwide. Google combines DeepMind with its internal AI teams and pushes its models across a global network of TPU-powered infrastructure. Amazon uses AWS as its base and has invested billions into Anthropic, a rising AI lab. Meta is building one of the largest GPU fleets ever assembled to support its generative AI roadmap. Apple invests heavily in custom silicon and on-device intelligence, although it does so more quietly than the others. And then there is NVIDIA. NVIDIA isn't just a participant, it is the main supplier. Its GPUs power most of the large AI training clusters in the world, and its data center revenue has surged into tens of billions per quarter, according to Bloomberg's reporting. If this is an arms race, NVIDIA is the one selling the weapons to every side. These companies spend at levels similar to national governments. Google's yearly CapEx tied to AI runs tens of billions. Meta's CapEx guidance prioritizes AI infrastructure. Microsoft is expanding data centers across multiple regions. Amazon keeps growing AWS to meet AI demand. Their budgets look less like product development and more like national-scale projects aimed at securing strategic advantage. The chip war. The first battlefield is the chip war. In this war, GPUs are the new oil. They power the training of every major AI model, and the company with the most compute holds a significant advantage. That is why demand for high-performance chips has skyrocketed. NVIDIA's GPUs, especially those designed for data centers, have become some of the most sought-after components on the planet. But as demand exploded, so did pressure on the memory industry. AI workloads require enormous amounts of VRAM and high-bandwidth memory. Reuters recently reported that global DRAM supplies have tightened due to AI demand outpacing production. When AI firms buy millions of units at a time, that ripple hits the consumer market. Gamers and PC builders have already seen prices rise, not because of gaming demand, but because AI labs are competing for the same parts. This is also why every major tech company is building custom chips. Google has its tensor processing units, which have powered its internal AI workloads for years. Amazon has Trainium for training AI and Inferentia for running AI models more efficiently on AWS. Microsoft introduced its Maya chip as part of its push to reduce reliance on third-party suppliers. Apple continues to expand the AI capabilities of its own silicon. These custom chips serve one purpose: reduce dependency on NVIDIA and secure a private supply of compute. Because in this arms race, the side with the most compute isn't just faster. It can build more advanced models, test more ideas, and push innovation forward while others wait in line for hardware. And when models cost hundreds of millions to train, waiting isn't an option. The race to build the largest data centers. These new AI factories aren't just bigger than the data centers of the past. They're heavier on power, water, and cooling. Training large AI models takes enormous amounts of energy, and the International Energy Agency says global data center electricity demand could more than double by 2030. That makes data centers one of the fastest growing industrial loads in the world. Some regions have even paused new data center approvals because local grids can't keep up. To manage these demands, companies are turning to advanced liquid cooling and redesigning entire buildings to keep hardware running sustainably. Land has also become a strategic asset. Microsoft, Meta, and Google have been acquiring new sites at a rapid pace, often in areas with access to renewable energy or stable transmission lines. They're effectively building digital infrastructure on the scale of power plants, because that's exactly what modern AI requires. And the faster the models grow, the more land and power they'll need. The data war. Once you have compute, the next challenge is fuel. AI doesn't learn from thin air. It learns from data, which is why the data war is one of the most competitive fronts in this entire conflict. High-quality text, images, and video are essential for training modern models, and companies are now paying serious money to secure it. Reddit's IPO filings revealed licensing agreements worth hundreds of millions across partnerships with OpenAI and Google. News Corp signed a multi-year deal with OpenAI worth more than $250 million, according to the Wall Street Journal. Axel Springer also partnered with OpenAI to provide access to its archives. Alongside these alliances, there are legal battles. The New York Times has sued OpenAI and Microsoft over the use of its content in training data. Other publishers have raised similar concerns. At the same time, companies are exploring synthetic data, which is AI-generated content used to train new systems. It's promising but controversial, because if you train AI on its own output, you risk reinforcing errors or reducing diversity in the data. In this war, information is treated like territory. Whoever controls it can shape the intelligence that powers the next generation of AI. The model war. With chips and data secured, the next contest happens in the models themselves. This is where companies try to create the most capable brain. GPT-4 advanced reasoning and summarization far beyond earlier models. OpenAI's multimodal systems like GPT-4o introduce speech, vision, and text into a single model that can respond in real time. Google's Gemini project combined the strengths of DeepMind and Google Research to build a family of multimodal models that run across phones, laptops, and cloud systems. Anthropic's Claude models focused on reliability and transparency, pushing towards safer and more predictable outputs. These models are incredibly expensive to train. Analysts estimate that cutting-edge training runs can cost hundreds of millions once you include compute, energy, and engineering. That's why every benchmark update makes headlines. When a model outperforms its rivals in coding, reasoning, or maths, it's treated almost like a military victory. But the real shift is happening with agentic systems. These are models designed not just to respond, but to act, plan, and complete tasks on their own. Companies see agents as the next major platform shift, because an intelligent system that can operate independently changes how people use technology. At the heart of this is a simple principle known as scaling. The more compute and data you give a model, the smarter it tends to get. That's why companies are pouring resources into training the next generation. It isn't just about performance bragging rights. It's about shaping the intelligence that will run everything from search engines to virtual assistants to workplace tools. And the company with the most advanced model gains a powerful position in this new ecosystem. Alliances, deals, and proxy wars. No one fights this war alone. The alliances between tech companies and AI labs are shaping the direction of the entire industry. The partnership between Microsoft and OpenAI is the most influential example. Microsoft supplies the cloud infrastructure, and OpenAI develops the models that run on top of it. Together, they've built one of the largest AI ecosystems in the world. Amazon took a similar approach with Anthropic, investing up to $4 billion and making AWS its primary cloud provider for training and deployment. And Google has invested in Anthropic as well, while continuing to build its own models internally. These alliances create unusual dynamics. In some cases, a company is backing a partner while also competing with them. It's similar to a proxy war where alliances overlap and each side tries to strengthen its position without giving up strategic ground. The benefit is shared risk and shared innovation. The challenge is navigating competition while maintaining collaboration. But in a landscape where training a frontier model costs hundreds of millions, partnerships become essential. They let companies combine compute, research, and talent to move faster than they could alone. What's clear is that alliances are no longer optional. They're part of the survival strategy. The companies that form the strongest networks tend to move the fastest. And as the stakes rise, these partnerships are likely to deepen across hardware, cloud services, and model development. In the same way nations form treaties during geopolitical conflicts, AI labs and tech giants are forming their own digital coalitions. Regulation and geopolitics. When enough money and power gather in one place, governments always show up. AI is no different. In the United States, the White House issued an executive order on AI that pushes for safety testing, reporting, and standards for powerful models and large compute clusters. In Europe, the EU AI Act introduces a risk-based framework and extra obligations for general-purpose models that cross a certain compute threshold. These rules treat some AI systems less like apps and more like critical infrastructure. At the same time, AI has become a geopolitical tool. The United States has restricted the export of NVIDIA's most advanced data center GPUs to China, arguing that this protects national security and slows military-grade AI development abroad. China is investing heavily in its own chip and AI ecosystem to reduce reliance on foreign suppliers. So while companies see AI as a business opportunity, governments see it as a strategic asset that can influence defense, trade, and global influence. AI makes PC hardware more expensive. One of the clearest side effects of this war shows up in something very familiar: PC parts. AI data centers do not only need GPUs, they need huge amounts of memory. Reuters has reported that the AI boom has created a global shortage of DRAM and high bandwidth memory because demand from data centers is outpacing supply. When that happens, prices rise across the board, not just for cloud providers. Gamers and creators are now competing with AI training clusters for the same underlying components. That is why graphics card prices have stayed stubbornly high instead of falling in the way many people expected. Manufacturers prioritize large bulk orders for data centers because those contracts are enormous. So a war that seems abstract at the top of the tech world ends up making it more expensive for everyday people to upgrade their PCs. When AI reshapes jobs and productivity, another area that is quietly shifting is work. Research from McKinsey and others suggests that a large share of current work activities, especially those involving routine information processing, could be automated or heavily assisted by generative AI. Goldman Sachs has estimated that the equivalent of hundreds of millions of full-time jobs worldwide could be exposed to some level of automation pressure over time. That does not mean those jobs vanish overnight, but it does mean tasks inside them change. Roles in customer support, administration, writing, design, and even coding are already seeing AI tools move into the workflow. At the same time, new types of work are appearing. People are needed to design prompts, monitor AI systems, curate training data, and check outputs. The overall effect is a productivity shock. Some people will be able to handle more work with the same hours. Others may find parts of their job replaced and will need to adapt. The direction is clear, even if the exact outcome for each person is not. Privacy in an AI-powered world. There is also a quieter cost that sits in the background of all this progress: privacy. To make AI assistants more helpful, companies often need more data. That can include messages, documents, browsing habits, audio snippets, and even location signals. The more tightly integrated these systems become into phones, laptops, and home devices, the more opportunities there are to collect information about what people do every day. Regulators and privacy advocates have raised concerns that powerful AI combined with large data sets could make detailed profiling easier than ever before. It is a short step from helpful personalization to tracking. Some regions are starting to demand clearer consent, stronger data protection, and more transparency around how AI systems learn. But the tension remains. To get the benefits of smarter assistants, people are being asked to share more of their digital life, and not everyone is comfortable with where that line might eventually sit. What big tech is actually racing for? On the surface, this looks like a race to build the best chatbot, but underneath, the prize is bigger. Companies are competing to control the next computing platform. In previous eras, whoever owned the operating system or the smartphone ecosystem gained enormous influence over software, payments, and user behavior. Now the focus is shifting to AI layers that sit between people and their devices, handling everything from search to scheduling to writing. Control over the global cloud also plays a role. The largest AI models are trained and hosted on a small number of huge cloud platforms. That gives those providers leverage over which tools can scale and how much they cost. On top of that, intelligent agents that can act on behalf of users could become the default way people interact with the internet and their work. The real race is about shaping that layer before it becomes standard. Whoever defines the defaults for AI assistance, recommendations, and automation will hold a powerful position in the digital economy. How this AI war will change your life in 3 to 5 years. So what does all of this mean for you in the next few years, beyond more headlines about models and chips? The most immediate change will likely show up in your tools. Office suites, design apps, coding environments, and messaging platforms are already adding AI features that help draft, summarize, and analyze. That trend will deepen until it feels normal for software to offer suggestions and take routine tasks off your hands. Workflows will shift. Some people will handle more complex projects because AI takes care of the repetitive parts. Others may feel pressure as certain tasks become easier to automate. On the hardware side, it may stay more expensive to buy high-end GPUs if AI demand continues to dominate supply. Subscription models are also spreading as companies charge extra for AI-powered features. Privacy will stay a live issue. More tailored recommendations and smarter assistants often mean more data sharing in the background. National rules will try to define boundaries, but experiences will vary by country. The one consistent theme is this: most people will interact with AI every day, even if they do not seek it out, simply because it will be built into the services and devices they already use. The war no one can opt out of. When you zoom out, the AI war is not happening somewhere far away. It runs through energy grids, cloud servers, legal systems, workplaces, and living rooms. Big tech is spending figures comparable to national budgets, governments are rewriting rules, and infrastructure is being rebuilt so that machines can think at scale. All of that eventually filters down into the price of a graphics card, the way your job feels, and how your phone responds when you ask it a question. No single person chose this arms race, but everyone ends up inside it. That is why understanding it matters. You do not need to follow every model release or chip announcement. It is enough to know that a handful of companies and governments are shaping the next layer of digital life through decisions they make today. Being aware of that gives you context for what you see around you, from the tools you use to the choices you face as this new era of AI unfolds. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this and want more deep dives into the future of AI, make sure you hit subscribe and stay tuned. There is a lot more coming.